My name is Kayla. I was 21 at the time this happened, and I worked overnight shifts at a big retail store just outside a small town in Mississippi. Back then, the store was still open 24 hours, but after midnight, it basically felt abandoned. There were maybe 3 or 4 employees in the entire building, spread so far apart that you could go hours without seeing another person. On this particular night, I was working the 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. Around 11:30, while I was in the men's clothing section folding jeans, a man walked up to me holding a pair and asked if we had them in a different size. It was a normal question, nothing unusual. I told him whatever was out on the rack was all we had. He thanked me, but didn't leave right away. There was this awkward pause where he just stood there, looking at the jeans, then back at me. We made eye contact for a second longer than what felt normal. Then he finally walked away. At the time, I didn't think anything of it, but I remembered his face. By around 1 a.m., the store had gone completely quiet. I'd moved over to the appliance section, bringing out a cart full of boxes to restock empty shelves. That's when I noticed someone in the next aisle over. Because the shelves weren't fully stocked yet, I could see straight through to the other side. There was a man standing there, just watching me. The second I looked directly at him, he quickly turned away, but I already recognized him. It was the same guy. That's when I started to feel uneasy. I tried to play it off, pushing my cart down the aisle and pretending to focus on my work, but I made sure to pass by where he was. He didn't have anything in his hands. No cart, no basket, nothing. And that didn't make any sense. I finished up as fast as I could and went to the back room, trying to calm myself down. I sat in the break area for a few minutes, scrolling on my phone, convincing myself I was just being paranoid. Eventually, I decided to switch to grocery. I went into the dairy cooler to start stocking milk and yogurt. The refrigeration units were loud, making it hard to hear anything outside. Then, suddenly, the cooler door swung open. Even over the noise, I heard it clearly. There was a small gap between stacked boxes, and I looked through it toward the entrance, and my stomach dropped. It was him. I didn't think. I just crouched down and pulled a crate of eggs in front of me, trying to hide behind it. I stayed completely still, barely breathing. I waited, expecting to hear the door open and close again, but it never did. After what felt like forever, I slowly lifted my head and instantly regretted it. He was standing right in front of me, just staring down at me, smiling. I screamed. His expression changed immediately, and he lunged forward, trying to cover my mouth. I shoved the crate of eggs into him. They smashed all over the floor, and he stepped back just enough. I ran. I didn't stop until I found another employee. His name was Derek. I grabbed him, trying to explain everything, but I was panicking. Then the man walked up to us, completely calm, like nothing had just happened. He apologized and claimed he was from corporate, saying he was doing a surprise inspection and didn't mean to scare me. Derek didn't question it much, but I did. I asked him why he tried to cover my mouth. He said he didn't want me to cause a scene. That didn't make any sense. Then, like he was in charge, he told me to go back and finish stocking appliances. And just like that, he walked away. Before he turned the corner, I called out and asked his name. He said, "Eric," without even looking back. The next morning, I told my manager everything. She immediately said none of it added up. There were no corporate visits scheduled, and even if there were, they would never happen in the middle of the night. They checked the security footage, and that's when it got worse. The cameras showed him following me through the store for hours, staying just out of sight, watching me from different aisles. The police were called, and a report was filed. I refused to ever work overnight again after that, but that's not the part that still bothers me. A few days later, one of the managers pulled me aside. She said there was something else on the footage, something they didn't include in the report. At one point, before he ever approached me, the cameras caught him standing in one aisle, just staring at his phone. Zooming in, they could see what was on the screen. It was a picture of me from inside the store, taken that same night from a distance, meaning he hadn't just decided to follow me. He had already been watching me long before I even noticed him. I still work there, just not at night. And sometimes, when I'm walking past certain aisles, I catch myself looking over my shoulder, expecting to see him standing there again, saying him. If you've ever been to a Walmart late at night, you know the kind of people you might run into. Most of the time it's just weird encounters, people you laugh about later. But this wasn't one of those times. This happened a couple days before Black Friday. I live just outside Raleigh, North Carolina, in a quiet, gated neighborhood. Nothing ever really happens there. It's the kind of place where people don't even lock their doors during the day. That night I went to Walmart around 11:30. They were running early deals, and I had my eye on a specific laptop. When I got to the electronics section, there was only one left. So I grabbed it. And right as I did, I heard a voice behind me. "Hey, I need that." I turned around and immediately felt off. The guy standing there was huge, not just tall, but wide. His clothes were dirty, like he hadn't washed them in days. His hair was messy, and his eyes, they didn't look right. "I'm sorry," I said. "It's the last one." For a second, he just stared at me. Then his face changed. "I said I need it," he repeated, louder. People nearby started looking over. I didn't want to deal with it, so I just turned and walked away toward the checkout. That's when he started yelling, not just complaining, but shouting, making a scene. I could still hear him as I got in line. Some people nearby laughed it off, saying he was probably just crazy or on something. I tried to laugh too, but something about him stuck with me. By the time I got home, it was a little after midnight. Everyone else was asleep, so I went out back to the patio to set up the laptop. It was quiet, peaceful. Then the motion light on the side of the house turned on. I froze. There's a wooded area next to our house, so it wasn't that unusual. Animals set it off sometimes. Still, I walked over to check. Nothing. No movement, no sound. Just that light, shining onto an empty patch of grass. I went back inside, locked the door, and tried to forget about it. A few minutes later, a car alarm went off, loud. I immediately recognized it. It was mine. I looked through the window and saw my car lights flashing. I ran upstairs, grabbed my keys, and hit the button, but it didn't stop. So I had to step outside onto the porch. As soon as I turned it off, I noticed something. A car parked on the street. That alone didn't make sense. Nobody parks on our street, ever. Then I saw someone sitting in the driver's seat, just sitting there. I couldn't see their face clearly, but I could tell they were looking toward my house. I didn't wait around. I went back inside and locked the door immediately. I woke my mom up and told her something wasn't right. She could tell I was serious. We both went downstairs. She looked through the peephole first, and then she gasped, like she'd just seen something she couldn't process. I looked, and my stomach dropped. Standing right outside our front door was the same man from Walmart. Up close, he looked even worse. His face was dirty, his expression completely blank. "I think he followed me," I whispered. And then the doorknob started moving, slowly at first, then more aggressively. He was trying to get in. When it wouldn't open, he started pounding on the door, hard. Each hit echoed through the house. My mom cried out. My little brother came out of his room, confused and scared. My mom called 911, her voice shaking. Then suddenly, it stopped. The pounding, the movement, everything. For a few minutes, there was complete silence. Just my mom whispering into the phone with the dispatcher. Then, a loud crash came from the back of the house, glass shattering. My mom screamed. I told them to go upstairs while I ran toward the den and locked the door. I stood there, waiting, listening, expecting him to try the door, but he didn't. There was nothing. No footsteps, no movement, just silence again. Then, in the distance, I heard sirens, getting closer, fast. I ran outside to guide the police in and led them straight to the den. They went in with their weapons drawn. A few seconds later, one of them shouted, "Got him!" They found him hiding behind the couch, just crouched there, like he was waiting. He didn't go quietly. He started yelling, screaming threats at me as they dragged him out in handcuffs. One of the officers told us he was likely on drugs, unstable. Another told us we were lucky we called when we did. I never saw him again. But sometimes I still think about that night, about how he followed me all the way home, and how easily things could have turned out differently. If you've ever worked overnight in a large store, you know how empty it feels. Not just quiet, empty, like you're not supposed to be there. This happened when I was 21, working weekend night shifts at a Walmart just outside Columbus, Ohio. I was still in college at the time, trying to pay off loans. The job itself was simple: stock shelves, unload deliveries, basic warehouse stuff. Most nights there were only 2 other employees in the building. That night, it was Marcus and Derek. It was July 17th, 2016. I remember that date clearly because it's the only shift I've ever had where something didn't feel right. I was working in electronics, restocking shelves, when I saw something in the corner of my eye. Someone walking past the aisle. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I realized Marcus and Derek were both wearing bright blue staff shirts. The person I saw was dressed completely in black. I stepped to the end of the aisle and looked around. No one. I called out their names. Nothing. No answer. I told myself it was nothing and went back to work. A few minutes later, there was a loud crash somewhere in the store. It made me jump. I followed the sound and found a bicycle on the floor. It had been hanging on a display hook. The hook was still in place. It didn't just fall. Someone had to pull it down. That's when I started feeling uneasy. I walked through a couple aisles nearby, just checking. That's when I heard it. A laugh. Low, off, not normal. It came from the next aisle. I moved toward it slowly and stopped at the end. There was a man standing there, dressed all in black. His back was facing me, but his head was turned, just enough for me to see half of his face. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there. Then suddenly, he ran. Not toward me, just away, down another aisle. That's when I started hearing footsteps, fast, moving around me, and that same laughing sound, echoing through the aisles. It felt like he was circling me. I didn't chase him. I went to find Marcus. I found him in the clothing section and told him everything. He could tell from my face I wasn't joking. I told him to find Derek if he saw him. At that point, I needed a minute. I headed to the employee bathroom in the back, locked myself in one of the stalls, tried to calm down. Then the door opened and closed. "Marcus?" I called out. No answer. Then I heard it again, that laugh, closer this time. I looked at the stall door and saw someone step into view through the gap. They moved closer, slowly, till the gap was completely covered. All I could see was one eye, staring right at me. Then came the whispering. I couldn't understand a single word, but the way it echoed in that bathroom made it sound wrong. My hands were shaking. I pulled out my phone and called Marcus. I spoke loud on purpose, told him to get to the bathroom immediately. I didn't look away from that door, not once. Then suddenly, the figure stepped back. I heard footsteps, running. Out of the bathroom. About 20 seconds later, Marcus came in. He said he didn't see anyone, not in the hallway, not anywhere. We stayed together the rest of the shift, didn't separate once. The next day, I texted our supervisor, explained everything. When I woke up later that afternoon, I saw his response. He said he checked the cameras from that night, but every single one had turned to static at the same time. No one had access to shut them off. No alarms went off, no sign anyone broke in, nothing. He believed me, but there was nothing he could do. I quit that job not long after, and to this day, that's the only experience I've ever had that I can't explain.